Just a little word of welcome to Sophia, her first time serving, and helped by Cole, who's a veteran by now. So we welcome both of those kids. Several years ago, I read a book that was called The Disease to Please. Now, according to the author, we sometimes find ourselves in unhealthy places of life. And it's because we get stuck in one of three things, or all three things, either bad thinking, or dead-end emotions, or destructive behaviors. So if you think of those things, three things on a triangle, what the author is telling us is that before you can move into a healthier place, you have to start with one of those, either with our thoughts that are sometimes distorted or negative or stuck, or our emotions that sometimes cripple us and hold us back, or our behaviors, the things that we're doing. And you can start at any one of those places and begin to unravel that and get ourselves into a healthier place. I found that very helpful in my life in many, many different ways, in many different times. But I also find it very helpful in spiritual journey as well. And I think the scriptures help us with that this morning. The book of Proverbs. Book of Proverbs is just a collection from a bunch of different authors, but they have one intent. It's to change our thinking. So in the chapter we hear today is written by King Lemuel, and he's sharing with us some wisdom he heard or he got from his mother. Always a good place to get wisdom, right? And he's repeating it in a culture where a wife was just simply regarded as property and treated as such. His mom taught her son to change his thinking. Her value, he says, is far beyond pearls, and her husband, entrusting his heart to her, has an unfailing prize. So give her a reward for her labors, and let her work bring her praise at the city gates. It had to start someplace. It started with his thinking, what he believed. Paul reminded his people, that they were children of the light, living among children of darkness. But they were transformed, they were changed, they were people of Christ. And it would be so easy to get sucked back into the darkness and to begin to do what people of darkness do, to become what they have become. And what Paul reminds us is that we have the light of Christ. We live in the light of Christ, to remain in the light of Christ. So do what people of the light do. And then, of course, the gospel parable. Each man in the story is given a talent. A talent is a measure of wealth, far beyond anything that any of them could have ever earned, kind of a share of the master's possessions. And each talent would be considered a lavish and extravagant expression of generosity. One invested, two invested, but the third one, out of fear, out of his emotion of fear, he just went and buried it. Fear cripples us. Fear paralyzes us. Fear turns us inward instead of outward. In a real way, what Jesus was teaching us, this great gift of faith that we have, it's not just for us personally. It is to be shared, to be invested in everyone else. We all suffer in some ways from some of these things, right? I can't be the only unhealthy one in this church right now, right? If it's not the disease to please, it's some other addiction or challenge or dead-end thoughts that we hold on to, or some other fear or anger, some emotion that cripples us from living fully. It's our behaviors. We just get into patterns of doing things that are not healthy, and we have to face those in our personal lives. We face them in our dysfunctions of family sometimes. We face them in our institutions. So every once in a while, as our scriptures remind us today, we just need to ask ourselves, what are we afraid of that keeps us from loving or living with more love and with more mercy? What are we doing that keeps us from living freely and generously? What is stuck in our heads that keeps us from enjoying what God has so generously given us? What do we need to do to unravel that triangle of thinking, feeling, doing before the Master comes back and asks us, so what have you done with this lavish gift of life I have given you?